Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today we're going to talk about a story out of Los Angeles that was absolutely terrifying. A man in a vehicle was ripped out of said vehicle by a bunch of angry teenagers in broad daylight, and they beat this man to the point where they broke his leg, as well as causing a bunch of other additional injuries. On top of that, they robbed him, presumably to feed their starving family, and most of this was captured on video so we can see it for ourselves. And unfortunately, this very public incident where these individuals are not hiding their faces has led to 0 arrests. So all of the suspects are still at large. This crime has gone completely unpunished, and this is standard fare, unfortunately, in the city of Los Angeles. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Dramatic and scary scenes in downtown LA caught on video after a man claims he was ripped out of his car by a mob.
Now, the victim says he was beaten and robbed right in broad daylight.
So one of the things that I noticed throughout the course of this local news segment on this absolutely horrific crime is the tone taken by the local news and the way that they phrase certain things revolving around this particular case. First and foremost, this should be obvious to everybody out there in the audience. If there is video of this attack, and then you have the person on the local news saying that there's video that they will proceed to show you, by the way, I find it quite interesting that they also say that this person claims that this happened to him. Obviously, we're not talking about a suspect who is alleged to have committed this crime. We're talking about what clearly happened, what is on video. And again, if this was the only instance throughout the whole course of this segment of this kind of weird language that is kind of defensive of the criminal, I wouldn't say anything. But as we get to the end of the segment, it is going to get worse. Now, let's get into the actual incident.
Take a look. The attack left the victim with a broken leg, his car vandalized.
KTLA's Carlos Asado joins us in studio now with...
So they followed it up by saying he was beaten and robbed, and then his car was vandalized. They show an image of his broken leg, and in the background, you can see teenagers jumping on the hood of his car, stomping into his car. Again, I say this repeatedly on this channel. A lot of times, criminals are doing this for the fun of it, for the enjoyment, to hurt people, and that's exactly what you're seeing on display right here.
A mob attack on the streets of LA, part of the brutal beatdown caught on camera. The victim on the receiving end could be heard asking for help, the person recording in disbelief about what he was witnessing.
So right there, this guy is describing it, and again, you can see in the background, they were not only jumping on the front of the vehicle, but jumping on the back of the vehicle, because these teenagers are making a point to do as much damage as humanly possible. Now, by the way, there are some mistakes that were made by the victim in this particular case, and it is not victim blaming for me to point them out. So you guys, if you find yourself in a similar situation, don't end up making those same mistakes. But the most obvious one is don't pull over. Do not stop your car. If a mob of people is attacking you, engaging you in what could be a deadly situation, for your own safety, stay in the car, keep that barrier between you and the suspects, and if you need to, you should drive through those suspects. That being said, this is Los Angeles, and while there are absolutely no arrests for this attack on this man, because Gascon doesn't want to prosecute anyone for anything, and that goes double for underage offenders, because we all know if you're one day under 18, you're basically a baby, and thus you cannot be held accountable, and driving through likely would have led to a prosecution of the victim in this case, which is incredibly unfortunate. But again, that might be better than you risking your life in order to engage in conversation with these people.
This is what LA has come to, dog. I'm not even playing, dog. I literally just parked, bro, right over there. Man, these kids are wildin', bro. They're not even older than 20, dog.
Complete mayhem on a downtown LA street as a group of teens target this vehicle and the driver.
Come on, man. Yo, man, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know these people. I just parked right there, bro.
So one of the things that I find troubling about this particular video, and to be clear, it is a positive that we have this evidence in theory of these people attacking said vehicle, is the casual way that the person recording this dismisses the victim's pleas for help. He's telling them, hey man, I don't know these guys. Hey man, I don't know what's going on. And this is what happens when you're in a society that prioritizes videoing something for the internet over the safety of this human being. You're not going to call 911. You're not going to try to assist in any way, shape, or form. You're just going to say, hey, bro, I don't know these guys. I know you have a broken leg. You're quite literally walking hobbled right now in this particular video. The attack is ongoing. They're looting all your stuff. I'm just going to ignore that because I got to get this footage for my TikTok account. I'm just going to ignore that because I might be able to sell this footage to the local news. It's honestly disgusting to see, but this is an aspect of humanity that we all have to encounter because whenever something goes down, rather than calling for help, people are with their phones. They're recording everything. This is the face of the fall of the American civic citizen.
Are you okay, sir?
The driver, Shailoobek Bazarbai Uulu, can be heard telling the man recording to call police. He was left limping after being brutally attacked. His car ransacked and left badly damaged.
Now, I have to cut the video right there, but again, the full video is linked in the local news, but what you guys would have missed, and I freeze-framed it so you guys can anticipate what happens for those of you actually watching, is that a group of 3, as this guy limped toward his vehicle on the passenger side, decided to come up and sucker punch him, because it's not enough that you already broke his leg. It's not enough that you already ripped him out of the driver's side of the vehicle, already beat him down. You have to sucker punch him, add additional harm, and it just goes to show you how disgusting these individuals actually are. And by the way, we find out through the course of the segment that this guy is actually moving. So the property that he had in his vehicle is a bunch of personal artifacts that were stolen by these thugs because, of course, you not only have to assault the guy, you not only have to beat him, you not only have to start the beef, but then you have to steal everything you possibly can as you do as much damage as humanly possible.
They were destroying my car, and oh my god, it was like a nightmare.
Shailoobek says he feared for his life, confused about what was unfolding. The attack happened the evening of August 2nd, as he was stopped at a red light on Olympic and Hope.
So it is not lost on me that this individual is limping throughout the course of this segment. He is shocked, and then they talk about how he said he was in fear of his life. Understandable fear when you're being attacked by a group of 30 individuals that seem hell-bent on causing as much damage as possible, that attack you even after your leg is broken. But also not lost on me is that this man was attacked on a street that was named Hope. We even get to see the street sign. And obviously, there is no hope for justice in this particular situation. Again, over a week at the time of me recording this video, and no reported arrests. Even though it's on video, you can see faces. Gascon seems to be asleep at the wheel, which is normal for him, because this is what these left-wing Soros-funded district attorneys tend to do. They tend to excuse this. They tend to deny this criminality. We just covered this in relation to a mob of teenagers robbing a 7-Eleven and destroying it for fun, and it's also true here. And remember, when you voted for these different propositions in the state of California, and they told you it was about non-violent crimes, it was about the kid who got 25 years in prison just for possession of marijuana. Does this look non-violent? Does this look like it's 25 years just for a small amount of pot? Absolutely not. What they ended up doing after those laws passed was decide that they were going to move a bunch of violent crimes into the category of non-violent, and all of these criminals got those protections. When you elected Gascon to reform the system, his level of reform is downgrading the charges, dropping charges, and treating youthful offenders, who can be the most dangerous offenders, as if they have no responsibility, can't even think about what they're doing, and therefore should be held accountable 0% of the time.
A group of teens on bicycles pulled up in front of his vehicle, and when the light turned green, he says he attempted to pass them up.
When I was passing, so one of them threw out a bottle of water, like, into my car.
As he pulled over and got out of his car, he says a group of roughly 30 teenagers surrounded him, and things turned physical.
First of all, a major problem of this could be solved by enforcing one of my core principles on society, and that principle is cars remain superior on the road. If you are on a bicycle, then you are lower than a second-class citizen, you are absolute dirt, and you in no way, shape, or form should be on the road, and you should be required to move when a vehicle actually tries to pass you by. But here we have some mistakes by this particular individual. One, he sees the bicyclist on the road. He doesn't recognize his divine right to pass them, and for them to shift aside, so instead he attempts to pass past them, they end up getting angry and they chuck a water bottle into his window, which is rolled down. Now, rather than just getting out of that situation, he decides to confront the teenagers, confront the mob of second-class, lower-than-dirt bicyclist teenagers that are on the road, and they decide to greet him with violence. If he just tried to get out of that situation, if he just powered through, then he would be perfectly fine. And if you're in this situation, just know no road rage incident is worth it, not ever, not in any way, shape, or form. Even if somebody throws something at your face, it is always better to just drive your car along your way and get out, because again, these people are on bicycles on the road, thus making them human garbage, thus making them not worth the bikes that they are riding on.
He sustained a broken leg and deep cuts and bruises throughout his body after being punched and kicked while on the ground.
So these absolute thugs, these absolute monsters ended up punching him, knocking him to the ground. Again, they broke his leg, and then they started stomping him out, something that we've seen time and time again, and of course should be charged more seriously. I think sucker punching should be an elevated form of assault. It should be a felony assault automatically, but definitely stomping somebody out when they're on the ground, because this is obviously so inherently dangerous, it could lead to serious bodily injury, if not death.
And suddenly someone pulled me out, and she just literally saved my life. And it was a young lady, and she just took me aside, she just hugged me.
Now, I have some respect for this woman who intervened in this situation. Third-party interveners are often put in more dangerous than the initial participants in the encounter, but she grabbed this individual, and it is quite telling that she had to hide him in order for this attack to stop. Again, this is a serious crime. These 30 teenagers should face assault charges, gang assault charges, serious felony charges, but we don't expect any of that from Los Angeles because the district attorney does not care about the victims. If this guy would have defended himself with his vehicle, you would see a mountain of charges. You would see this guy face the full force of the law, but because he was just straight up victimized by these innocent Angel Aladdins, DA Gascon has no interest.
Shailoobek says the teens made off with personal belongings he had in his car as he was planning on moving. They took backpacks and his wallet, including credit cards and cash.
It's been a week and no one has been arrested.
Now, to me, I think this is quite telling that it's been over a week and nobody had been arrested for this particular incident, and then the local news cuts to somebody going into the vehicle, robbing him of his backpack, and you can see a pretty clear image of his face, just like you can see pretty clear images of all these people's faces. On top of that, I want to point out that this is Los Angeles, so while we do have some cell phone video right here that shows you what's going on, we also, in addition to this, likely have surveillance video that could help identify these people, but there is no effort being made to do so. But this is where the local news segment, in my opinion, gets significantly worse. Let me play this for you so you can hear it for yourself.
Now, Shailoobek started a GoFundMe page as he recovers from his injuries. The victim says he did nothing to provoke the attack, but in the video we hear the teens claim he cut them off, almost hitting them.
So get a load of the way that was framed. They say the victim says he did nothing to provoke this, but on the video, we actually hear some of these teenagers saying that he cut them off on the road and nearly hit them. So let me get this straight. This guy says, I didn't provoke this particular incident. Sure, there might have been something that happened before, but I did nothing in order to justify this response. And the local news guy's like, well, actually, the unidentified criminals in the video who have not been arrested for their crimes, they said that he nearly hit them when he got cut off.
Now, Shailoobek started a GoFundMe page as he recovers from his injuries. The victim says he did nothing to provoke the attack, but in the video we hear the teens claim he cut them off, almost hitting them.
And I respond to him by saying, therefore what? Therefore it was acceptable and self-defense for them to yank him out of his car. Therefore it was acceptable for them to sucker punch him for a 30-on-1 attack that included stomping him out to be justified, for them to break his leg, for them to then stomp on his car, on the hood, and on the trunk to cause as much damage as possible, for them to rob him. Was that covered under self-defense? In no way, shape, or form does somebody not hitting you with their car count as provocation and some kind of a justification for physical force. When somebody almost hits you with the car, whether you're in another vehicle and thus have first-class citizen rights, or you're on a bike and thus you are third class, less than a citizen, you move on with your day, because guess what? Somebody almost hitting you means that they didn't, which means that you're fine, which means that you need to shut the hell up and move on with your day. The idea that this is in any way, shape, or form justified or a close call or something that we need to really ponder is absurd. It's insane. It's asinine. But the local news guy's like, well, he said that he didn't provoke his savage beating, his yanking out of the car, his robbery, his broken leg, his sucker punch that we show you all on video. But in reality, in actuality, some of the teens were quite upset that he may have came a little close to their little bicycles. Therefore, they needed to act that way in self-defense. This is ridiculous, but it does go to show you that in certain classes of society, there is always that addiction to making an excuse for criminals, to making some kind of way for the crime to not be as bad as it actually is, and I'm not having it. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like this video, then show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a savage attack in Los Angeles in broad daylight. Till next time.